Hello! In the last video I talked about how Ronnie Watts seems to be unsure of Chris's innocence, and yet he's speaking out about Shanann and about her murdering the children. So in this video I want to explore why that might be. The way he talks about Shanann, he shows a lot of contempt. And yet to Shanann's face, it seemed he liked her. He seemed to act like he liked her. So what's really going on? Does he like her? Does he hate her? Where's the truth? And I think for someone like Ronnie, the truth gets a bit lost. Cindy would show her feelings towards Shanann, and it sounds like it could be very passive aggressive. So with leaving the nuts out, that sounds like she was really trying to make a point that was going to upset Shanann, whereas her husband Ronnie doesn't seem to have expressed it. Ronnie got on well with Shanann. She didn't have a problem with him. It was always Cindy that she had a problem with, and Jamie sometimes. But Ronnie would be nice to Shanann. That's what I understand from I've also read all of the discovery files, and I've seen the text messages from Shanann, and it seems that everything she's said and that other people are saying suggests that she and Ronnie got on well, but he's willing to throw her under the bus. And that might make sense if it was just to get his son out of prison. Well, she's dead now anyway. So if he blames this on her and it means his son is freed, maybe there's something that that makes sense there for a parent whose son is going to be in prison for the rest of his life. But I don't think it's that simple. I think that he would have pushed her under the bus anyway. When Cindy was angry with Shanann, Ronnie would follow suit. When Cindy didn't go to their wedding, nor did Ronnie. And even though he could be so nice to her, I think it would be easy for him to turn his back on her. As long as Cindy had a problem with her or Chris had a problem with her. I'm going to read an example of him doing just that. These were texts sent by Shanann to Chris after the nut incident in North Carolina, when Cindy had put out nuts in front of Cece. Apparently she'd offered her ice cream with nuts in it. There was some dispute about whether that really happened or whether they were all just eating nut ice cream in front of Cece. Either way, there were later some nuts on the table apparently. And you're going to hear the sound of the sea, I think, because I'm right next to it, so sorry about that. It can't be helped. Truth came out last night. I didn't create no dagger between you and your dad. That was done by your mum, and your dad and I won't change a thing. So I think she was spot on here, that it didn't really matter what had happened between her and Chris's dad. She knew that Cindy was the one with the power over what Chris's dad did, and Chris's dad hadn't been in touch with him since this argument. So it sounds like Chris had accused her of creating a dagger between him and his dad, so ruining their relationship. My daughter's life is way more important, and you'd better believe I wanted to say a whole lot more than I did, but I was being the bigger person and protecting Bella. I didn't tell your dad not to come to party. I didn't tell him not to text or call your daughter on her birthday. I didn't tell him to start acting like he only has 2 grandkids instead of 4. I didn't block your family on Facebook. He did. Myself and your kids have nothing to say to them. They do. They owe your kids their life. Your parents' home isn't a safe zone. Your mum isn't safe. You can let them tell you what you want, but I didn't tell anyone to stop loving your kids or acting like it. He did that, not me. So Chris's dad has actually blocked them on Facebook because of this nut incident. You can believe I created this dagger, but I didn't do that. I stood up for our kids. I advocated and protected our children. I don't ever want to hear, I'm sorry I killed your kid because I was stupid. That would kill me. These kids are my world, and I have to protect them from the evil of the world. I shouldn't have to protect them from evil family, which of course becomes very ironic in a horrible way. Our kids deserve the same love and attention the other kids get, nothing less. I'm not accepting I'm sorry from your mum because she doesn't mean it and she knew what she was doing. I made it very clear not to eat it around Celeste because she doesn't understand, way before that happened. She's evil and willing to risk your daughter's life just to get under my skin. You and your dad are no different if you're okay with her behaviour. I'm not going to be treated this way for having the balls to protect our family and kids. I should get an effing medal for handling it the way I did, because I had a lot of choice words I wanted to say to her and your dad for his stupidity. No one stands up to your mum and your dad for that. He's just as guilty by not doing anything. I have nothing to do with him stop sharing memories of his grandkids. What does that have to do with me? So she describes Cindy as evil, but Ronnie as stupid. If he's stupid, then it suggests he's not of the same mindset of Cindy, but he's putting up with it. You know, he's allowing her to be like that. He's not doing anything about it. He's going along with it. He's blocking them on Facebook because of what Cindy wants. So there's a difference between him being stupid and Cindy being evil. And she talks about him being okay with Cindy's behaviour. So again, it's Cindy that is behaving in this way and he is okay with it. He's going along with it. And the way she says it is as if she doesn't expect it. Because otherwise she'd be saying that they're both evil. But she's saying that Ronnie's okay with Cindy's behaviour, as if he shouldn't be, as if he would be of a different mindset again. I get the feeling that Ronnie is someone who places so much importance on having a connection with the people in his life, that that connection comes before anything else. And he will be a flying monkey for them, as long as it means that they need him and, you know, and they're in his life. He seems like a very dependent person because he apparently started a coke habit after his son Chris had left home. And apparently this was because he was so upset that Chris had left. And that's, you know, Chris has talked about this in prison, but we don't really know the details. So that's why I keep saying apparently. We don't know any of this for sure. But it does seem certain that he did have this habit because Cindy didn't deny it. When she was talking about it over the phone to Chris, she was saying that the media were talking about it, but she didn't say that it hadn't happened. He's happy to say all these irrational things in order to show 100% that he supports Chris. He's not somebody who would only half support someone. You know, he's not someone who would express that they agree with some of someone's behaviour and not other aspects of it. We never hear him saying to his son that he shouldn't have done something, being in any way judgmental towards Chris about anything at all, even the affair. He always seems to just flatter him and adore him. And Chris knows he can rely on that because he wants his dad with him in the police station. He doesn't want Cindy there. He wants his dad there.
I don't think I've read it cover to cover twice yet, but I'm probably getting close. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. That's a good thing, son. We love you so much.
He sounds so excited and adoring of Chris, and he seems to be someone who's good at making people feel good and special. And I think that's why his relationship with Cindy probably works. And that's how an enabler can behave. They're there to help a narcissist to get their narcissistic supply. And I think that's because he's learned that that's what love is. Love is always being okay with everything the person says and does. And I've talked about this in a video about narcissists, how they think in this way. Are you on my side? And that's all that matters. And I think Ronnie is someone who is used to needing to be on someone's side. So he's used to being around the kind of person who thinks in this way, where he is either completely for them or he's against them. So there's no room for criticism in a relationship like that. There's no room to show that you doubt the other person or that you have your own feelings about them and what they're doing that might not match with what makes them feel comfortable. You know, you have to be in complete agreement and okay with everything they do and say. And this all makes sense because Cindy comes across to me as someone who wouldn't put up with any less. I think she is really narcissistic. And I've looked at why in different videos. I've looked at the things she's said that prove to us how narcissistic she is. An enabler has usually grown up with a parent who's a narcissist, or at least very narcissistic. So they're used to this black and white way of thinking and these invisible rules that they have to follow in order for this parent to be pleased with them. And so I think Ronnie will have probably grown up having already followed these rules. So he's found somebody who matches what's familiar to him. And, and now he's playing by her rules, which are probably very similar rules. He lets Cindy interrupt him over and over again. He's okay with that. That's how their relationship works, I think. Her needs come first, and that's what they're both comfortable with. The family of a narcissist, just like a cult, need to believe in the illusions of the narcissist, because if they don't, there's a risk that the narcissist might have to actually face what's really wrong with them, and they might have to face reality. And that's much too dangerous for a narcissist to do. They live their whole lives around trying to avoid the truth about themselves and trying to keep their false selves alive. And very often they will be so blinded to this person, they themselves will be as deluded as the narcissist. They'll be so obsessed with keeping this fantasy alive that the narcissist is this really all-important being, that they themselves will believe in this, and they will be addicted to people like this. If Chris really did murder his children, what would that mean about Cindy and the way she's parented him? So Ronnie's job is to keep the fantasy alive, this fantasy that they're a really good family and anything terrible that happened came from an outside force. Because they're blinded to who the narcissist really is, they can also be blinded to what is reality. They can not be able to judge the narcissist's opinions very well. An enabler can be so enmeshed with a narcissist that they don't have their own moral compass anymore. So they rely on what the narcissist thinks of as right, as being the right thing to do. And they might know somewhere deep down that something feels a bit mean, something feels a bit wrong, but they need to do it because pleasing the narcissist will always come first for them. I hope that was useful. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.